Alright, so we gotta talk about the Akatsuki, man, because these guys are just too cool. They have too much sauce. Like, they got so much sauce, they got matching coats. Like, who does that, bro? These guys actually just horrified me as a kid, and I thought they worked really well as villains. And rewatching the story as I got older, I understood a lot more why they worked as well as they did. And the first reason for that is that they get shit done. To me, something that's often important with villain characters is that they are actually capable and feel like a legitimate threat to the main characters. If we don't actually see them do anything impressive or see them put the main characters in any bad situation, we're just gonna look at them as bums. But with the Akatsuki, our first introduction to them is when they show up and completely body Kakashi. Like, my man is gone. And as we know from before, Itachi killed his whole clan, including his parents, so just knowing he's in the group makes us wonder what other type of sick, twisted individuals they got there. Then they just straight up kill Gar, like they deadass murder him, he's dead.
Man, I'm dead.
Like the guy that was just the main antagonist of an arc got killed by one of the weaker Akatsuki members. Then they body Kankuro, then they kill Azuma, then they kill Jiraiya, and then it's revealed that the leader of the Akatsuki was the one who killed both of Naruto's parents and was the one that made the Nine Tails destroy the village. We even learned that Orochimaru, the most evil, despicable guy on the planet, got kicked out of the Akatsuki.
Huh?
Like, what? How did they kick out the most evil dude in the land from the evil organization? Like, clearly these guys are not to be messed with. And whenever the main characters actually manage to defeat one of them, they're almost always on the brink of death. Reason number 2, they all have their own individuality. Because they're all part of the same group, it's important that they aren't just evil henchmen for the main characters to be, but every one of them has their own motivations and goals outside of the Akatsuki. They all have their own philosophies and things that drive them. Like Kakuzu wants to get as much money as possible. Deidara wants to make people acknowledge and validate his art. Hidan wants to sacrifice people to his god. Kinda like with the Straw Hat crew in One Piece. So while they all follow Luffy, each and every one of them all have their own goals they want to accomplish. Reason number 3, their theme song. Their theme song is just so fucking good. I remember as a kid, every time either that or the Orochimaru theme song came on, I would just be shitting my pants, bro. Music can be so effective to make certain characters embody certain vibes, and the Akatsuki theme song really does embody evil and just pure fuck-assery. Reason number 3, they are all good characters. A villain can be as evil and capable as humanly possible, but if they're just bland as hell or annoying as shit with nothing going for them, I won't care about them. I'm not like a massive Boruto hater or anything like a lot of people seem to be, but one thing that disappointed me a lot about one of its arcs was Kara. This is effectively Boruto's version of the Akatsuki with a few key differences, and man, is it so much worse in every single way. Particularly so because, again, aside from like the most important members, none of them are good characters, which is really baffling because there are so much fewer Kara members compared to the amount of Akatsuki members. Delta is literally just annoying. Like, that is her character trait and she has nothing else going for her. Boro is just the most bland generic villain of all time, but every single one of the Akatsuki members, even the ones that don't end up mattering much in the grand scheme of the story, are in my opinion pretty well written characters. So we're gonna go through all of them and explain why that is, and also rank them from worst to best, starting with... Okay, so I might have lied a little when I said every single one of them was a good character. Now, I'm not one of those people that like vehemently hate Setsu. I just think he's extremely mediocre as a character. Also, he's technically like two completely separate characters, but anyway, Setsu's number 10, mid as hell. So I struggle a bit with finding out who number 9 would be, but it had to be Kakuzu. Kakuzu is one of the few characters that don't really have anything actually going for them. He is just kind of an intimidating force for the main characters, and an incredibly good intimidating force at that. Like, he does that job great. But he never really gets anything beyond that. Although he does have a clearly defined motivation, which is money. Like I said before, this really helps elevate their character. Remember Delta? What is her motivation? I have no idea. Literally, she is just there to exist. And while I think Kakuzu's motivation is consistently acted upon and gives us a better understanding of what type of person he is, this never really gets expanded on and doesn't get brought up at all in the final encounter. Okay, so Hiran used to be my least favorite aside from Setsu. He's like the weakest Akatsuki member, no one really takes him seriously, he's just kinda whack, you know? But I've definitely come to appreciate the things that makes him unique. Like his religion and crazy ritual, it's actually really interesting and I wish that got expanded upon. He's also responsible for giving Shikamaru his best moments in the whole story and has the most satisfying death scene ever. Like Kakuzu, there isn't really a whole lot to him, but I think between the two, he's just a lot less boring. Konan is the GOAT. I love her paper jutsu, it's so unique and different from everyone else, and every time the animators animate her, it's like they lock the fuck in. Like all the scenes where she uses it look so damn good. I love her design, and her and Nagito's backstory is insanely good. She also has an amazing fight against Obito, like when she revealed the whole fucking ocean was filled with like 600 billion paper bombs, I was just like, damn, you got it. Do you know how many explosives that is? Like that's gotta be the power of like 3 atomic bombs. Like she actually would have killed Obito if he hadn't coincidentally gotten a hold of the Izanagi like a week before. Honestly, I think she kills every scene she is in, but unfortunately that's just the problem. She has no scenes. I really wish she got to do more in the series and that she acted a bit more independently from Nagito, because there's honestly so many chances for that to happen. Like when Deidara almost gets killed by Kakashi's Kamui, she could have shown up and saved them. After all, she is the second in command in the Akatsuki, but she never really feels like it. We never even see her capture a Jinchuriki. And I really wish she could have gotten like an actual fight against someone in the Leaf Village. I mean, she kind of sort of has like a really short fight against Shino, but like, come on dog. Pain has a 1v1 against Jiraiya, Kakashi, and Naruto, but you couldn't give her a single person? I feel like her not fighting Sakura is one of the biggest missed opportunities in the story. Again, the highlight of her is definitely the flashbacks. I really liked her and Yaiko's romance, and it really made Yaiko's death a lot more tragic. So yeah, I wish she got to do a bit more, but she's still pretty goated. Okay, so these next 3 I struggled with a lot, and honestly they're all basically as good as each other, but I ended up with Deidara. I don't think I appreciated Deidara enough as a kid, because he is genuinely such a fun villain, and I love how he doesn't just die in the arc he's introduced. He actually stays around for a long time to fuck shit up. I mentioned that every Akatsuki member has their own motivation, and I think Deidara's is one of the ones that works best. Deidara sees art as something that is quick and fast, instead of long lasting, and I love how that reflects his explosion ability. His explosions is what he sees as the epitome of art. A quick explosion that is nice to look at while it's there, but quickly disappears. This is why Sasori was the perfect person to team him up with. Someone that sees art as eternal, which is why he kept himself looking like his younger self for so long, and ensured that he would never age. And this is also why Deidara is from the Stone Village. Stones and rocks themselves embody what Deidara sees as the opposite of art. They're hard, solid, never move, and never change. And then of course we have the Tsuchikage. I really wish we got to see more interactions between them, but the Tsuchikage is also something Deidara sees as the opposite of his vision of art. He's old as hell and refuses to step down. When we see him in the 5 Kage summit, we see how set in his ways he is, and refuses to change. I love how insecure he feels towards the Uchiha and the Sharingan, as he feels so threatened by their existence. All of these things come together to give us a much better understanding of who Deidara really is. And at the end, he shows off his philosophy by launching a huge explosion at the cost of his own young and short life. And he doesn't even succeed. Not only does he fail to kill Sasuke, but no one is really there to be in awe of or remember his art. He tried his whole life to make people see, understand, and recognize his art, but ultimately fails completely. Kisame is so fucking cool. He definitely has the best character design out of all of them, and like Deidara, I love how long he sticks around for. He has like 4 whole fights, which is more than like a lot of characters in the series. He's just so badass in every way, and his rivalry with Guy is so funny, bro. Part of the reason why I love Kisame so much is because how much his character deals with existentialism, something I always find interesting when explored in stories. He is someone that throughout his life is seeking a purpose, and is envious of Itachi for how determined he is for his cause. Itachi sacrifices everything he has in his life to ensure the village's safety, and yet he never flinches. He never changes from his calm, laid-back expression because he is so devoted to his cause despite all the pain he's going through. This makes him a great matchup with Kisame, who is so disillusioned with the shinobi world that he sees himself as nothing more than a weapon for others to make use of. Every time he meets Guy never remembers Kisame because Kisame doesn't stand out due to his lack of ambition or drive. But at the end, he finally finds his purpose, and that's when Guy remarks that he will never forget the name Kisame Hoshigaki for the rest of his life. A great journey for Kisame to undergo, and a great way for his character to end. You know, Sasori is probably the most forgettable Akatsuki member out of all of them, mostly because he's introduced pretty early on in the story and dies in that same arc. You know, it's actually pretty ironic that Deidara survived for as long as he did and that Sasori died so quickly. He also just isn't super important to the overall story, or even the story in that arc, so you kind of forget he exists a little bit. Even someone like Hakusu, who's still pretty forgettable in the grand scheme of things, is still ingrained into your mind forever because of the Rasen Shuriken. Again, I really wasn't sure who I liked more between these three, but part of the reason I went with Sasori is because unlike everyone else so far, he's the only one that actually has his story fully fleshed out and explored, leaving no loose ends behind. And his story is actually so fucking good, a perfect character to include in an arc all about loneliness, and he actually gives us what I'd say is one of the best fights in the whole series, and easily Sakura's best moments period. This scene right here in particular is absolute cinema, and easily one of the best scenes in the story. This is one of those drawings that speaks 1,000 words, and part of the reason why I love it is because it will only make sense to you if you have seen or read Naruto. If I show you this panel right here, you can guess pretty roughly what's happening. Even if I show you this from Naruto where they use a jutsu, you can still understand that they're using some big energy ball technique on a bad guy. But with this, you have to know exactly how the puppet mechanics in Naruto work to understand what's happening. I love panels and scenes like these because it speaks to how well woven together the story, world, and abilities are, to the point where this couldn't happen in something like Dragon Ball or One Piece. He also makes the fight against Sakura and Chiyo so fucking cool. Easily a top tier Naruto fight, and easily Sakura's best fight, which doesn't really say much, but still. Now you probably already figured out who the top 3 is, the question is just what order they're in. And honestly, I have nothing negative to really say about Obito. Just like Sasori, I think his story is very well done from beginning to end. Seeing him start as this young kid that turns into some crazy extremist that's completely given up hope on the world is awesome, and he works as such a great foil for Naruto, and my favorite moment from him will always be when he sacrifices himself at the end. Such a great journey to take this character on. His ability always makes for some really cool action sequences. I particularly love the one where he takes out Danzo's Anbu guards. Like, he had no reason to be this disrespectful, bro. I really have nothing negative to say about him as a character. The only reason I didn't put him higher than the other two on the list is that at some point in the story, he really loses his cool factor. Like, as soon as he puts on this bum-ass mask with this sauceless-ass fit, he never really does anything cool. And a little after he loses the mask, we really just start seeing him as incredibly pathetic. And obviously that's the point. You're supposed to see Obito as this pathetic loser that's lost his way completely, and I really like that. It's just that I find more enjoyment in the characters above. So with that being said, Pain is probably my favorite villain in Naruto. Everything about him is just perfect. It was perfect. His design is so distinct and unique, his ability is so complex and makes any fight against him into a really strategic one. His backstory is amazing, dialogue is always on point, and most importantly, everything about him feels completely thought out beforehand, even down to his name. It's such a well-realized character that honestly never misses a step. Like I mentioned in the beginning, to me a good villain is often a capable one, and Pain is certainly that, as he kills Jiraiya. This is a great way to make the audience hate the villain, which is perfect because this arc is all about breaking the cycle of hatred. Hell, he even kills Kakashi. Like, again, this dude is just not to be fucked with whatsoever. I also think the flashback of these three is easily one of the best in the series. Seeing their journey completely recontextualizes both Pain and Nagato's actions, and also recontextualizes the Akatsuki itself as a group, as we learn their original purpose was to bring peace to the world and stop all wars, even though the group goes on to create the biggest and deadliest war of all time. And honestly, I think out of all the times Naruto uses his Talk no Jutsu, this is the most effective for me. There are so many episodes of just straight up dialogue between these two characters while still managing to hold my attention, which is really impressive. I especially like it because Nagato actually almost manages to convince Naruto to give in to hate. Obito made some efforts with trying to corrupt Naruto too, but he definitely didn't have as much success as Nagato does, and that really highlights one of his biggest strengths, like I said earlier, his dialogue. A good villain will make you fear them through their actions, but a great villain will make you fear them just by speaking.
Hey, I'm out! I swear to God, I'm out. Hey, this has nothing to do with me no more.
Like I said before, him and Orochimaru are probably tied for my favorite villain of the series, and it just so happens that the #1 spot on the list is actually not really a villain. It's a bit ironic that my #1 member of the Akatsuki is the spy, and honestly I wish I could put Pain at #1, but ultimately this is my favorite character in the Akatsuki and not my favorite villain. And I just so happen to like Itachi a lot, so much so that I read both of his light novels. Like, I deadass picked up and read 2 whole ass books just to read a story I already largely knew. That being said though, as much as Itachi isn't a villain, he does make for a pretty damn good one. Like, it's pretty impressive how well written he is, both when he's pretending to be evil and after the facade is up. And I think that's probably my favorite part about him, which I touched on earlier when I talked about Kisame. I tend to really like characters that are so dedicated to their goal that they're willing to sacrifice everyone and anyone, and most importantly themselves, all to achieve it without even flinching. I've talked a lot about the different members' motivation, which is because to me that is one of the most important aspects when it comes to writing characters. Through their motivation we get to learn so much more about them, like why it means so much to them, what they're willing to sacrifice for it. And in Itachi's case, his refusal to kill Sasuke because he loves him so much, even when he's evil, I think adds a lot of humanity to his character that otherwise could have made him feel a lot more stale or one note. And I think that's why I honestly find him as a more entertaining character when he's reanimated compared to when he was still alive. He worked as an incredibly good villain when he was alive, and seeing his whole character get completely recontextualized after we learn his true goal is incredible. But I think that recontextualization gets properly paid off when we meet him again after the fact, because we get to see it for ourselves firsthand. I think he honestly has one of my favorite quotes in the whole show as he speaks to Naruto.
火影になった者が皆に認められるんじゃない。皆から認められた者が火影になるんだ。
This shit means something to me, man.
Like, damn, bro is just dropping bars left, right, and center.
This jutsu has one weak point, one risk. Me.
And I think just in general, the way Kishimoto makes us view a character in a completely opposite way than we originally did is an incredibly impressive feat. Although I find that a lot of people fixate on whether or not Itachi was a good or bad person, which to me is such a strange way of looking at a story. Of course, it can definitely be a fun topic to debate or philosophize over, but whether he was good or bad is never something the show attempts to make a definitive statement of, because that's not really important. Itachi was a 14-year-old boy who had to make one of the most stressful and important decisions ever, where inaction means action, and no matter what choice he makes, there will be tons of death and destruction. He tried to make the decision he thought right and selfless, and at the end regretted his decision. The Naruto world uses children as soldiers in war. Itachi was exactly that, and a child who was so sick of war that he was willing to commit atrocities to end them. The focus should be on how messed up the shinobi world that created this child is, not whether or not the child was a good person. Because after all, what kind of world creates a situation where a child feels like genocide is the lesser evil? But really, what I think this choice Itachi makes adds the most to in this story is how it elevates Naruto's character. When Naruto and Itachi talk to each other in the forest, Itachi poses a question. If Sasuke was to attack the village, would Naruto have what it takes to stop Sasuke, even if he had to kill him? These scenes exist to show us just what makes Naruto so different from not just Itachi, but every prodigy type character that came before him. Where they saw ultimatums or choices, Naruto refused to compromise. He always strove to achieve the best possible outcome, no matter what it cost him. Throughout his whole life, Itachi was plagued with choices: duty or family, clan or village, war or peace. But Naruto rejected the idea that those choices had to be made in the first place. And it's these types of misconceptions and arguments that I find getting repeated over and over again, which is totally fine and all, but every time I hear them, it always sounds like it's coming from someone that hasn't seen or read the story in a while. Like, I still see people unironically say Naruto was about hard work. And you have to check out why that isn't the case in this video right here.